Hello, everybody. It's nice to be here today because I'm with one of my dear friends, Kenneth. Kenneth, he is a client from Viv Europe, and he has moved from Canada to Portugal, and he has been living here for a while. And we are happy to share some information with you. And really excited to be here with my friend. So Ken, if you want to introduce yourself, and so we can know a little bit about your staying here in Portugal, who is Kenneth, that would be fantastic.
You bet. Thank you, Victor, for inviting me to join you in this conversation. As a bit of my background, I've traveled widely through my careers and had a wide range of careers. I don't like same all the time. I like changing, and I like doing things differently, and I've done that all my lifetime. As a young child, I was in a military family, and we traveled all over the world. And then as a young adult, I was in the military and traveled all over the world. And then a university student, and then moved into a number of different careers that had me traveling as well. There was a period of time in the US when I was a public school teacher working in the school system. And then I became a doctor at BC Children's Hospital, where I was specialized and was actually called to travel all over the world doing teaching and training on behalf of the hospital in my area of specialty. So travel and experiencing new and different things has always been a part of who I am. So moving to Portugal was not going to be a surprise. When I made the decision to move permanently, it was for a number of reasons. You would say, why would you leave Canada? Well, I left Canada because it's cold. It's very, very cold. The weather is not very comforting or very positive for a senior person. Okay. There's a sense of people are increasingly stressed. There's actually a bit more violence there than I'm used to or that I like in North America. So there were just reasons for me to say, let me go somewhere else. And I have that opportunity to do that. I've been to Portugal many times in the military and on vacations, and it was a pretty easy decision to say Portugal will be my new home.
Oh, that's really, really nice. What a background. Mm-hmm. So Ken, thank you for the background. Really, really appreciate it. And it's really nice to know that you decided to come to Portugal, such as myself. You came here quite recently. I've been here for 6 years. And such as you, I'm really, really enjoying the country. And asking about the reasons why you chose Viv Europe to come to Portugal, could you please elaborate on why you decided to hire the company and how was the process of finding the company and anything related?
Sure. This is not my first time to immigrate. I immigrated from the United States to Canada 30 years ago. That's a long time, and immigration processes change, and they're just different from country to country. So I had immigrated previously. So here I am going to immigrate to Portugal. And I do the standard thing a lot of people do. I start Googling. Everything is Google. True. You Google the universe to find out information. And I saw very good reviews for Viv Europe. What I really liked is that while I know you serve immigrants for all of Europe, coming into all of Europe, you do have an office in Portugal. So I knew that would be a sort of like where you're based, and that was a good thing. But I just saw very, very good things. And even when you think about why did I even look for somebody to help me immigrate, the real reason is I didn't know what I didn't know. I wanted to immigrate. That's what I knew. But I was so naive. I did not know what the process was like. I knew I needed to get some support on the process and what are the regulations and what are the requirements and what are the steps and what are the sequences. And tapping into it just a little bit, a lot of the content was in Portuguese. And I don't speak Portuguese. So I was going to have some support. And Viv Europe was that support.
Oh, thank you. And it's quite a move, quite a change. Even for us moving from Brazil to Portugal, we found that there were some times that we felt kind of lost. Mm-hmm. And so we had time to understand how things work here. Sometimes it's not as straightforward as we can, for example, see in an article on the internet. So having someone to guide through the process usually makes it easier, the integration here in Portugal. And we are really happy that you found this move to Portugal straightforward. And moving on, Ken, to the next question we have here. So in addition to the support provided for Viv Europe, what other resources did you find important when moving to Portugal?
For me, it's a bit tricky because I don't do Facebook, and everybody does Facebook.
Yeah.
Well, Ken doesn't do Facebook. I never have. Perhaps it's my age or my generation, but I do emails, I'll do texting, and I'll do the internet. So I was sort of limited to that, but Viv Europe is good about putting content up on the internet to see and to access. So that was first and foremost. I used the internet a great deal. But I will tell you that actually my local consulate became a very good source of information and guidance, and I connected to the local Portuguese consulate very, very quickly, and became friends and became familiar and comfortable with each other. And they were on the local scene very, very helpful for me. And I went to some local activities in the Portuguese community, and where I lived in Canada, and spoke with them as well. So you tapped into a lot of different resources.
You know, sometimes I feel that those who are applying for the visa, they get really scared on the part where they have to go to the consulate to apply for the visa. How was your approach with the consulate where you apply for your Portuguese visa?
For me, it was a positive experience, but it's because I invested myself in the relationship there. I looked at the whole process as I had two people on my team. I had Viv Europe on my team, and I had the Portuguese consulate in Canada on my team. And those are very important players in me immigrating to Portugal. And it was a very good learning experience for me to go visit the consulate for the first time. I didn't have an appointment, quite honestly. I walked to their address, I knocked on the big wooden door, and waited and knocked on the big wooden door, and then finally the buzzer came and I opened, and I went in and saw a very busy room packed full of people, and a small glass window over to the side with some staff who were working very, very hard. And this was a good time for me just to sort of observe what is going on here, what is this about? And what I saw was I could feel some of the tension in the room, that these were people whose passports had expired and they're coming back to Portugal and they need a fast passport renewal, or they have dilemmas on this or something, all sorts of scenarios. And you could feel the tension in those transactions. And I said, I don't like that, and I don't think that needs to be here. I saw staff who were working as absolutely as hard as they could work. When I observed their processes, they were working very hard, very focused, doing the best they could with the resources they had. I think in an optimal situation, there would have been more staff working there and a bigger space, but there wasn't. It is what it is. So I said, when I get to the window, which took me an hour and a half to work my way to the window, but that hour and a half was rich for me to understand what goes on in this room. I said, I want them to know that I'm there, that I'm a nice person, that I care about them, and that I have some needs that I hope they can help me with. And by the time I got up to the window, I had prepared my thoughts, and I let them know from the top, thank you for working so hard. I've been watching, you guys are just going full speed. It looks like you don't have a lot of resources. I can appreciate that. I know there's a lot of needs here, and I know some people ahead of me have been sort of rough with you, and I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to be that way. I'm going to be the nicest person you're meeting today, and I appreciate your work, and I appreciate you helping me, and I appreciate you helping me move on my journey to Portugal. And just taking that 30 seconds as a human just to connect to them and comfort them and appreciate them was huge. I could just feel the relationship going to a different place. And then I had this stack of papers to give them that they had to go through and sort and say if everything's okay to send off to Lisboa or not. But it was a very different working relationship. And I almost sensed them calming down themselves. And they did it. And I had multiple visits to the consulate afterwards. And every time it was a pleasure. And it was good. And it's a bit of a testament to that whole process. The day my visa arrived, I found that multiple visas had arrived, and so they notify the applicants that your visa has come. They wanted to call me first because they were so excited for me that I got head of the line. Here's your phone call. Your visa just arrived. Why don't you come down and pick it up? That was just good testament to say our relationship was good. I gave them a very nice gift basket at the end, by the way, but I was very thoughtful in that I didn't do it until after the end of the whole process, because I didn't want to do it during the process and have it feel like I'm bribing them or this doesn't feel proper. I was very businesslike, but very kind and human all the way through. It was after all of the work was done that I gave them my deepest appreciation for their hard work.
That's quite a nice approach, really, really. Yeah, so it's nice that you work your way around to get to the information that you needed. Mm-hmm. It's true, people usually go to Facebook when they find some communities. Sometimes it's good, there are people who has gone through similar path, but sometimes not that good because each one has its individual situation. Mm-hmm. And if you go find what people say, sometimes it does not apply to you. So there are some pros and cons on going to the internet. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Amazing. So talking about challenges, Ken, what was your greatest challenges for immigrating to Portugal?
Right off the top, what comes to mind is I'm not a very patient person. I'm used to being in control and I can drive forward and I can get things done fast if I just work hard and push forward. Mm-hmm. And I very quickly realized this process of immigrating, I was not in control of it. I was riding along a process that required steps and sequences and governments to do things, and I was going to have to learn to be patient. And that actually became a very good transition for me into the world of retirement, where you have to learn all of a sudden to slow down and be a little bit patient and be kind to yourself that way. So I had to learn some patience because I'm used to doing something here and now and getting it done. I also had some anxieties because I sold my house and put everything I own on a ship to Portugal and didn't have a residence visa. And you say, I thought, oh my gosh, what have I done? Is that the best thing to do? Should I be worried that I've sent all of my goods to Portugal and I've sold my house and I can stay there as a tourist for a period of time, but I cannot live there? Yeah. And those are sort of the red thoughts that can come up when you get worried and get very anxious about things. And I had to change those to green thoughts and tell myself, it's going to be okay. Stop worrying about everything and stop finding things to worry about, because the world is full of things to worry about. Yeah. Find some green thoughts and some pleasures and some positive things. And I had to work really, really hard at not worrying about things. I was tracking the ship that's got all of my stuff on it every single day across the oceans, and it's just moving a little speck of a distance. And finally I'd say, stop doing that. The ship will be here when the ship gets here. Yep. Let that go. And for me, I immigrated with a pet, which was it was sort of a little more complicating than I thought, because you can find lots of information about humans immigrating, but what happens if you have a family member that's a dog who's very dear to your family, and they're going to come along too? And there's countries have regulations on that, and it was very, very tricky. It was at that point that I found one of my best communities, which were pet owners who travel frequently to Europe. Sometimes they're coming permanently, sometimes they come just for a vacation in the summertime. And what they do is they come together and they charter a plane together. So their pets can travel with them and they can be comfortable on the airplane, and everybody shares the cost of the plane. And so I came over on a small private jet. It was 7 adults and 8 dogs, and we had our private jet and had a lovely, lovely, lovely trip to get my dog here safely as I needed to. And that was a challenge, but I prevailed. It worked out.
Yeah, and you did really well. I've never heard about this way of coming to Portugal with pets. Mm-hmm. And so it's also me learning from your experience. So you did really, really well.
Yeah, it's getting more and more common.
Yeah. And so you are living here for just over 1 month. How has been your experience living here for this time? What are you doing so far? Living in Portugal? Anything specific?
Well, my nature is to immerse myself into the culture so that I learn what it's like to be Portuguese and to appreciate the culture and living here. I think this is a gift that has been given to me. So I'm taking tile painting classes for the azulejos. I would tell you that I'm getting there. My first few tiles were pretty scary looking, but it's a skill and it's an art and it's a craft that with more training and support, my tiles are looking more attractive. I'm fortunate that I'm studying Portuguese language and history at the University of Porto. There were some professors who got a grant to help immigrants with language studies, and I was selected for the class. And so, at no cost, I'm part of I'm back in university studying Portuguese, which is a very challenging language for me. I have a degree in Spanish, and I've lived in Canada, which is French and English, and those help a tiny, tiny bit. Portuguese is just another whole ride. But I'm immersing myself in the culture in every which way I can. And even at this moment, tonight, we're recording this conversation in one of our places of Fado, our homes of Fado, a beautiful place where you come and people sharing their music and sharing their feelings at the time. And this particular spot has been a very important place, become a very important place to me to make friends and to feel engaged in the culture and understanding what Portugal is about and what it is like. And we're next to a train station, and you would never know that right outside at Sao Bento Station. But it's just a very, very special place, and I'm glad we got to select it to be the venue for our interview.
That's really, really nice from you. You've done a lot. Just here for 1 month, you find yourself enrolled into class, into painting titles. You've done a lot. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah.
And so moving to the next question, in terms of advice for people who are migrating to Portugal, do you have any type of advice that you can share with people that were in your situation, thinking about moving to Portugal?
I think the first thing that comes to mind is be sure to ask questions. And I think sometimes we don't ask questions because we can then feel like we feel weak. When you ask a question, sometimes it's like you feel, I don't know. And Steve Jobs, who's the big leader and so successful with Apple computers, he said one of his biggest things he did to be successful in this world was he did not hesitate to ask a question. And he never looked at asking somebody a question as a sign of weakness. It was a sign of, I want to know, I want some of your knowledge. And it was a sign of trust in that other person and a sign of respect to the other person when you ask them a question. So I ask questions all the time. And that's what helps build relationships. To tell a quick little story is I was in a grocery store and the orange juice here is stellar. It is just, we get, back in Canada, we get Brazil orange juice. It's concentrated and frozen on a ship for a few months, and then they do something with it for the store. And here it truly is oranges into a machine, and orange juice comes out. And I saw the machine, and it was written in Portuguese, and I wasn't quite sure what to do. And I thought, I can do it myself, and I probably will be okay. But I pictured myself putting a small container under there and pushing the big button and it overflowing on the counter. So I asked one of the staff in the store, I said, can you show me how to do this? And she very willingly did it. And I think she appreciated it. I said, I don't want to mess it up and I don't want to make a mess here. And she did it. And so by me asking her that question, it showed I trust you, I respect you, you have knowledge I don't have, please share it with me. And we've now become good friends in that store. And so every time I come into the store, we're smiling and who can say bom dia first, and just by that relationship forming off of asking a question. So ask questions, build relationships and networks. That's an important part of being here. And that, believe in yourself, and that, understanding this is a journey and it's going to have bumps and hiccups and stops and starts. But you can do it and change those red thoughts to green thoughts, because that anxiety and that worry can be very, very burdensome. and can be an awful part of the journey. And it's not what I want to focus on, and it's not what I want to remember over time. So with every red thought, there's a green thought on the other side. So when you think about, I'm never going to get that visa, you think about, yes, my visa is coming soon. And you just change it in the other direction. And that has all served me very, very well. And next thing you know, here I am in Portugal, living in Portugal. And I just, the other day, it was just so, I know I'm here because the first few weeks I was here, I would say back home. When somebody would ask me about something, I'd say, oh, we're back home, implying back in Canada, whatever. It's not back home anymore. I'm home. I'm home in Portugal. I'm here. And so that's when I know I've actually arrived, is when I start talking about Portugal as this is my home. This is my place.
Yeah, such good advice, Ken. Really, talking about one who provides the service, when we don't know the questions our clients have, it's hard for us to understand. Sometimes we go to the end of the stage, and then if the question was not asked in the beginning, it can put everything on a bad situation. So I truly agree with you in this one, and the fact that you are so positive. It's so good, to speak to someone with this way of living the life. I try to have the same approach in life. Even when things are not so good, we try to think on the positive side, think that things will change. So it's really, really good that you have this spirit, and we can see it from the other side when we make this connection with clients. And it's so good to see that your plan came to reality when you were here. So congratulations for your journey. And I can't thank you enough for being here with me, Ken. Now that we became much more than like a business transaction or anything, it's like friendship. And really appreciate you taking your time to be here with me, sharing your knowledge, your experience with the people. And I cannot thank you enough for this. Thank you, my friend.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.